Hello, I'm Ryan Craig, Managing Director of Achieve Partners and author of books like A New You, Faster and Cheaper Alternatives to College. And we're here for a conversation on digital skills and the future of workforce. I'm joined, lucky to be joined this morning by Governor Eric Holcomb of Indiana and Ravi Kumar, the president of Infosys. And Governor Ravi, we know the labor market is in a very interesting place now, perhaps unprecedented in the history of the Republic. We have over 10 million unfilled jobs and arguably tens of millions of workers who are unemployed or underemployed or unhappily employed. And I've written a great deal about the fact that what's missing in large part in our existing ecosystem of post-secondary education and workforce development is the digital skills that employers are increasingly seeking. So many good jobs and entry-level jobs are demanding digital skills, platform skills, SaaS skills that are simply just not being taught or delivered in our colleges and universities and workforce programs. So I want to start this morning with Ravi because often it's more enlightening, I think, to start on the employer side, because that's obviously what's driving the demand for talent. So Ravi, you broke ground on the Technology and Innovation Hub and then the U.S. Education Center in Indiana in 2018. Can you talk about what prompted Infosys' need to launch a hire, train, deploy model in the U.S.?
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for that question. Thank you to the U.S. Chamber for hosting us. Governor Holcomb, good to see you again. Always a pleasure. And actually, I get deeply inspired by every conversation I do with the governor. I happened to do one recently in New York, and that just stepped up on what we have to do in the state of Indiana. So Ryan, way back in 2017, we started this journey with the state of Indiana. I want to set the context of what Infosys is all about. Infosys is a tech and digital services company which partners with large enterprises on the journeys, on the transformational journeys. And for 40 years, we've been in existence, 35 plus years. We built hub and spoke talent models with large pools of talent in India. And that was a time when enterprises were using technology to enable their business, build systems, build scale. And that was the reason why the hub and spoke worked. For the last 5 years, we knew digital skills, rapid digitization of enterprises, and embedding software into products and services of every industry, every enterprise is going to be a reality. Even before the pandemic happened, that was happening, and with the pandemic, it got accelerated. So we believe that as tech becomes so core, every business becomes tech. I call it software is the new alchemy for every business. We felt like we have to go from hub and spoke to distributed talent pools and build capabilities in the markets where we are represented. And the US is a principal market for us. So one of the reasons was that. And then we started to go back to the roots of Infosys, which is hiring from schools and colleges. We built the largest corporate training university in India almost 30 years ago. And now that we're going to this distributed talent pool, we had to build it in our principal market in the US. It so happened that the governor and I were in India together, and the governor saw our training facility in Mysore, and he didn't allow me to leave till I actually told him that we will set up that center in Indiana.
Can you just describe for the benefit of the US audience what that looks like? Because I don't think that hire and then train model is as prevalent here.
So absolutely. So once we pivoted that to the state of Indiana, because there was great academic ecosystems locally, it was in the middle of the United States, so we could access all our client installs. And because we hire from schools and colleges and we build capabilities rather than just hiring from the market, we felt that was a great location. Going back to your initial comments, Ryan, there are 10.5 million open positions in the US, 8 million people available for jobs. And there's a great reshuffle happening today. That great reshuffle is 4.5 million people are leaving every month and finding new jobs. Social mobility is missing. We knew all of this was coming. It's just got accelerated with the pandemic. We felt it was a phenomenal opportunity to build that feeders of talent pools. So that was one of them. The second reason I would say is tech is going to be more insourced because tech is so core. It's not non-core for any business. Once it is insourced, this 100-acre training facility, which is the old Indianapolis airport, which we took over, the first phase of it is already done. We are just about to inaugurate it. We felt like it is not just about building feeders for ourselves. It's also about building feeders for our clients who would actually hire technology capabilities themselves because it is core. And the third reason is skills are very short-lived in the digital era. So you have to intertwine education and work together. That's the new template. The old template where the industrial revolution set, where education was there for the first 25 years and work was there for the next 50 plus years, that template is out of the window. Education and work are going to be intertwined. Reskilling infrastructure has to be built by enterprises. We felt like we could be that partner which enables reskilling for enterprises and building digital capabilities. We are in an unusual era. We have more jobs of the future. We have people looking for jobs, and the bridge between it, the reskilling infrastructure required, nobody's investing. So we believe academic ecosystems, local policy makers like the governor and the state of Indiana, and enterprises like Infosys have to build this skilling infrastructure in an era where education and work is going to be intertwined, skills are going to be short-lived. So tech is core, tech is going to be insourced, and skills are short-lived. These three reasons are the reasons why we built this. We are not only going to do this from STEM schools, we will do it from community colleges. I will come to that in a minute once the governor has his comments on this panel. And we're going to hire people without degrees, and we're going to hire non-STEM skills. So all of that is in motion in the state of Indiana.
So just last question before we turn to the governor. So you're actually in the U.S. Education Center, you were hiring for cognitive skills, you're hiring for communication skills, you're hiring for technical aptitude, but you're not necessarily hiring for the specific technical skills because you're confident that you have the ability to train on those skills and make them productive, both for Infosys and then ultimately for clients. Is that correct?
Spot on, Ryan. In fact, if you read some of the recent articles I've written about how we are moving from degrees to skills and how we are moving from skills to potential. Hire on potential based on learnability and attitude and aptitude, and train them for 8 to 12 weeks, and you will be ready for a digital job, applying digital skills to every function in an enterprise. That's what we're doing. We're hiring from community colleges. We're hiring with people who have who want to do a mid-career shift. They have, they're stuck in a low potential job. They want to go to a high potential job. We want to hire for them. One of the reasons why the great resignation is happening today, the great reshuffle, is in industries where there is no upward mobility.
That's right.
Unless we create upward mobility, we're not going to live the American dream. And the only way that will happen is to build reskilling infrastructure, hire on potential, and allow people to flourish in enterprises and flourish in industries where the social mobility is. People who are leaving jobs are in industries where the social mobility doesn't exist. And we think there is a hidden jewel of talent available there in this 2-year associate degree community colleges, and people without a degree. 50% of the United States workforce doesn't have a degree, and they're stuck on those jobs. But you know what? They have the potential to transition to these high skill jobs and the digital jobs you spoke about, as long as we actually reskill them. And that's our responsibility as a consortium, as a collaborative consortium with local policymakers.
That's great. Thanks, Ravi. Governor, this is a remarkable initiative. I'm not aware of any other state initiative that is so vast in its ambition with a single employer partner. So maybe you can start by telling us what was the need you identified that resulted in this partnership?
Well, thank you, Ryan and Ravi. You're preaching to the baritone section of the choir here. I kept nodding my head like I was in the front pew. Look, when Ravi mentioned that we were in Mysore And I got to witness firsthand, seeing is believing, when we're sitting in a boardroom and I'm seeing folks from Anthem and Eli Lilly and company coming into the room to say hello, that you know, they're headquartered here in the state of Indiana and they're training around the world. Obviously we had to address the workforce shortage, which, when you distill it down to its essence, and the reason why is because we have this lack of proper skills to fill the jobs that are there. This was pre-pandemic, and it's certainly been excited by what's going on over the last almost 2 years. And so we're trying to make sure that the proper skills, that those are the link to success for an individual, for a community, then for a state. And what we don't want it to be is the missing link. And far too often we were hearing from employers that were saying, if we could just find the people. And Ravi talks about the great resignation. And there's also this great reflection going on about what is it that I want to do with my life. And that kind of that pyramid of poverty level, lower middle class, upper middle class, all the way up to the affluent. What we're trying to do is, and what Ravi and I talk about every time we get together, is how do we push people up that pyramid, or how do we invert the pyramid, quite frankly, and grow the pie, which grows opportunity. And again, it goes right back to, are we supplying employers with the workforce that they need? Because every sector, as Ravi said, every sector is plus tech. And if you don't have that expertise, if you don't have that skill set, then you're competing against people who do. And either you grow or you die. So we have sought to align everything that we do coming from what is going to give the individual the best shot at going as far as they want up that pyramid, and making that pathway, light that pathway, so it's very obvious. And we hear from so many employers that say, look, I got PhDs and 4-year degrees working on projects that someone who just has the proper credential or certificate could fill. And I'll hire another, 100 folks with associate's degree. So this is critically important we got 30 private colleges and universities. We've got obviously Indiana, Purdue, Indiana State, and a community college that's in everyone's backyard in the state of Indiana. And so we've got to align those curriculums and make sure that they're aligned with the providers like Infosys, who has gotten this, for the last, since I've known them, and before that. And it's why I got to know them, because they had already cracked that code. Now we've got to figure out how we get all the partners together, and that we're making the right investments, that we're expressing the commitment from a state policy perspective, from a state funding perspective, cutting out the bureaucracy, making sure that if it's funds, that those funds are getting directly to employers to train. If it's funds to partner with Infosys, that they're getting there, so that obviously we can continue to grow the pie.
It's great. One of the things that makes me so excited about these hire, train, deploy models like Ravi and like this initiative is that they remove the friction for the candidate. Unlike a traditional post-secondary journey where you're required to pay tuition and take on debt, and then there's no guarantee of an employment outcome, here you're hired first and then trained. And that's huge for diversity in terms of underrepresented populations, in terms of rural populations. Governor, can you speak to the importance of providing additional pathways for diverse populations?
Absolutely. And that's what why that connectivity is just so important. Again, we have to make those investments, whether it's broadband internet, making sure their awareness is there. We have to get at this to remove every single barrier that's been out there, perceived or real, in every community. And so we address this as kind of one Indiana for all, whether it's rural or our urban centers, and make those connections. One thing that comes out of that every time that we make these investments, one thing that comes out of it, there's no better testimonial than someone who's gone through this program. And the validity of their endorsement is much stronger than mine could ever be. Mine almost sounds rhetorical to some. Theirs is real. Theirs is transformational. And so obviously when folks go through a program like this, they're also gaining this, and this is why we've made investments into computer science and said it's going to be absolutely necessary that every school in the state of Indiana is teaching computer science. So they're getting those critical and those creative thinking skills that go along with what Infosys is emphasizing, and the confidence that they get from an early age, that talent pipeline, and plus the industry direct pipelines that are attached to Infosys, that are attached to our colleges and our universities. Those are those investments that make such a big difference. And obviously the quality of candidates. We live in this time where no longer can we kind of blame it on, if you just sent me a better product, I could be more productive. We're all in this. It's all an ecosystem. And so we're all attached. We got to blur those lines between the corporate, state government, philanthropic too, for that matter, and make sure that we're promoting a good product along the way that's relevant to today's needs.
It's great, Ravi. Maybe final question. They hire, train, deploy. You can attract a more diverse population. How does a more diverse workforce help you serve your clients better?
So Ryan, you know, this is a very interesting time. First of all, you know, the experiment we did with hiring without degrees, hiring for potential, hiring from community colleges, we find that talent to be much more hungry, aspirational, to live the American dream, as I call it. They're much more sticky to us because we've potentially invested onto their professional.
You provided the pathway, sure.
That's right.
Yes. And interestingly, we have created this learn, earn, and work model. I call it the digital apprenticeship. And that has really created a pipe of talent which did not exist, because these are people who were stuck on those jobs. They were working on a teller or working on a check-in counter of a retail company. And that feeder of talent will go through an apprenticeship, which means they go through the back office, they go through the shop floor, and then as they work with us, they get credits from the university. They start to equip themselves for the core digital jobs. I can't find a better model, because they have actually gone through the back end to go to the front end and actually deal with core capabilities. So this is almost 50% of the workforce of the US. It's
right.
And I think this fixes the social upward mobility challenge. And that is, I think the governor very rightly pointed out, this great resignation is a phenomenon, because people are asking this question, why am I working? It's no longer about when and where to work. It's about why am I working? That question, you know, it raises the hope of the system. It raises the pool. It's a win-win for the local communities, win-win for employers like us, where we build this viable, scalable models, win-win for our clients, because this talent is sticky and more hungry to do more.
That is great. That is great. Well, Governor Ravi, I mean, what a great legacy to the U.S. Education Center in this partnership. If it could be a harbinger of sort of a renaissance of apprenticeship in America, I think that we'd really benefit from that in these new pathways to socioeconomic mobility and economic advancement. So I want to thank you both for your vision and execution on this. It's super exciting. You're helping change the lives of tens of thousands of Hoosiers and hopefully Americans as these models spread across the country. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan, and to the Chamber.
Thank you, Ryan, and thanks to the Chamber. And Governor, thanks for your leadership, as always, inspirational, and I hope we replicate the Indiana model in every other state.
I'm looking forward to hosting you in here soon.
Thank you.